The mirror that showed his future death. Part 2. Daniel thought the mirror showed his death. But he was wrong. Because the moment that thing stepped out, he realized something far more terrifying. The mirror wasn't showing the future. It was creating it. Welcome back to Dark Chronicles. This is the final part of a story about a man who looked into a mirror and saw something that should never have seen him back. Because some reflections don't belong to you. And once they step out, they don't leave. Daniel couldn't move. The creature stood between him and the door, blocking the only way out. Its black eyes locked onto his, unblinking, unfeeling, watching him like he was something fragile, something temporary. You belong here now, it repeated. The voice wasn't sound, it was inside his head. Daniel shook his head violently. No, this isn't real. But the creature took another step forward. Slow, heavy, each movement unnatural, like it wasn't used to this world, like it had just arrived. Daniel's back hit the wall. No escape, no distance left. The creature tilted its head, studying him. Then, it raised its hand, not to attack, not to grab, but to touch. Its long fingers reached toward Daniel's face. Daniel flinched, but he couldn't move away. The fingers stopped just inches from his skin. Cold, so cold he could feel it without contact. Then, the creature spoke again. You saw your end. Daniel's voice trembled. It's not real. The creature smiled. That depends. Suddenly, the mirror behind them cracked. A sharp sound, like glass breaking. Daniel turned his head, and what he saw made his stomach drop. The mirror wasn't whole anymore. Cracks spread across its surface, like something inside was trying to break out, or trying to get in. Daniel looked back at the creature. Where did you come from? He whispered. The creature didn't answer. Instead, it stepped aside, just slightly, revealing the mirror behind it. And in the cracked reflection, Daniel saw something new. Not the room, not the present, but another version of it. A darker version, a broken version, and inside it, another Daniel, standing, watching, not scared, not confused, but calm, too calm. Daniel frowned. That's not me. The creature tilted its head. That is you. The reflection. Daniel stepped closer to the mirror. His movements smooth, confident, controlled, unlike the real Daniel, who was barely able to stand. And then, the reflection. Daniel raised his hand, placing it against the inside of the cracked glass, exactly where the creature had done before. Daniel's chest tightened. No, don't. But it was too late. The reflection. Daniel pushed. The cracked surface rippled, just like before, like liquid, like something that could be crossed. And then, his hand came through, into the real world. Daniel screamed. The creature didn't react, it simply watched, as the reflection. Daniel pulled himself through, slowly, painfully, piece by piece, until there were two of them. One Daniel, terrified, breathing heavily, back against the wall, and the other, standing calmly, smiling, perfect, unbroken. The reflection. Daniel looked at him, eyes steady, cold. You shouldn't have looked, he said. His voice normal, human, but empty. Daniel shook his head. This isn't real, you're not real. The other Daniel smiled wider. I'm more real than you are now. The creature stepped back, giving space, like its job was done. Like this was no longer its moment. This was something else, something worse. The reflection. Daniel walked forward, each step slow, confident. He stopped just inches away, and leaned in. You saw your future, he whispered. Daniel's breath trembled. Yes. The reflection. Daniel's smile faded slightly. That wasn't your death. A pause. Then, it was mine. Daniel's eyes widened. What? But before he could react, the reflection. Daniel grabbed him. Fast. Too fast. Stronger than he should have been. Daniel struggled, but it was useless. The grip was too tight. Too cold. The reflection. Daniel dragged him toward the mirror. No. Daniel screamed, kicked, fought. But the closer they got, the weaker he felt, like the mirror was pulling him in, calling him, claiming him. The creature watched silently, unmoving, waiting. The cracked surface rippled again. And then, Daniel was thrown forward, into the mirror. Daniel hit the surface of the mirror, and didn't bounce back. There was no impact, no resistance. It felt like falling into cold water. Except there was no splash. No sound. Just a sudden drop. Darkness surrounded him instantly. Thick, heavy, endless. Daniel tried to breathe, but the air felt different. Dense, like it didn't belong to him. He opened his eyes slowly. At first, there was nothing, just black. But then, shapes began to form. Faint outlines, walls, floor, a room. His room. But wrong. Everything was wrong. The walls were cracked, deep fractures running through them like veins. The ceiling sagged, the light flickered weakly above. And the air, it smelled like something had been rotting there for a long time. Daniel pushed himself up slowly. His body felt heavy, weak, unfamiliar. He looked down at his hands. They were shaking, but not from fear, from something else, something deeper. He turned slowly. The room was identical to his. Same layout, same furniture, but aged, destroyed, corrupted, like time had passed differently here. Like this was the future. Or something worse, a version of it. Daniel whispered, "Where am I?" No answer, only silence. Then, a sound, soft, behind him. Daniel froze. He didn't want to turn. He already knew, but he had to. Slowly, he looked over his shoulder. And there he was, standing in the doorway. The other Daniel, perfect, clean, untouched, watching him, calm. Daniel's voice trembled. "You." The reflection. Daniel stepped inside. The door closed behind him. Without a sound. "You shouldn't have come," he said quietly. Daniel shook his head. "You brought me here." The other Daniel tilted his head. "No," he replied. "You walked in." Daniel stepped back, his heart racing. "I want to go back." The other Daniel smiled slightly. "That's not how it works." "What do you mean?" A pause. Then, "This is where you belong now." Daniel's breath caught. "No, that's not true. I didn't choose this." The reflection. Daniel took another step forward. Slow, controlled. "You looked into the mirror," he said. "You saw what was coming." Daniel's voice broke. "I saw my death." The other Daniel shook his head. "No." A small smile. "You saw your replacement." Daniel's stomach twisted. "What?" The reflection. Daniel stopped just a few feet away. Close enough for Daniel to see every detail. Every expression. Every movement. Identical. But not the same. "You were never meant to stay," he continued. "The moment you saw me." He paused. "You became unnecessary." Daniel felt something shift inside him. Like something was slipping away. Something important. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. The reflection. Daniel raised his hand. And pointed. At the mirror. Daniel turned. And there it was. Standing in the room. But this time, it wasn't just a reflection. It was a window. And through it, Daniel could see the real world. His room. Unbroken. Clean. Normal. And inside it, him. The other version. Standing. Breathing. Living. Daniel rushed toward the mirror. "No. No. No." He pressed his hands against the surface. It felt solid now. Cold. Unmoving. "Let me out," he shouted. The other Daniel didn't move. Didn't react. Just watched. "You don't leave," he said calmly. "You get replaced." Daniel slammed his fists against the mirror. Again. Again. Nothing. No movement. No ripple. No escape. "Please," he screamed. "I don't belong here." The reflection. Daniel stepped closer. His expression unchanged. "That's the point." Daniel turned back. Desperate. Angry. Terrified. "You can't do this." The other Daniel stopped directly in front of him. Their faces inches apart. "It's already done." A silence fell between them. Heavy. Final. Then, Daniel noticed something. The reflection. Daniel's hand. It was fading. Slowly. Like smoke. Like it wasn't fully there anymore. Daniel frowned. "What's happening to you?" The other Daniel looked at his hand. Then back at him. And for the first time, his expression changed. Not fear. Not panic. But understanding. "It's starting," he said. The room shifted slightly. The walls trembled. The light flickered harder. Daniel stepped back. "What is starting?" The reflection. Daniel didn't answer immediately. He looked toward the mirror. Toward the real world. Then back at Daniel. And finally said, "The transfer." Daniel's heart dropped. "No." The reflection. Daniel's body flickered. Just like the mirror had before. Parts of him fading. Reappearing. Unstable. "You're taking my place," Daniel whispered. The other Daniel nodded. Yes. Daniel lunged forward, grabbing him, but his hands passed through slightly. Not fully solid, not fully real. Stop this, Daniel shouted, but the reflection Daniel didn't resist. Didn't react, because he didn't need to. It can't be stopped, he said quietly. The room shook again, harder this time, cracks spreading across the walls. The mirror flickering, the world splitting. Daniel stumbled backward, falling to the floor, his breath gone, his mind breaking, and as he looked up, he saw the reflection Daniel standing in front of the mirror. Fading, but smiling. The room trembled again, this time harder, like something beneath it was breaking apart. Daniel struggled to his feet, his balance unsteady, his vision blurred for a moment. Then, it snapped back, clear, too clear, every crack in the wall, every shadow, every movement. He could see it all, more sharply than before, like this place was becoming real, and he was becoming part of it. No, he whispered. Across the room, the reflection Daniel stood in front of the mirror. Fading, glitching, his body flickering in and out of existence. But his eyes, still locked on Daniel, still calm, still certain. This is where it ends, he said. Daniel shook his head. No, I'm getting out of here. He turned toward the mirror, toward the only exit, and ran. Each step felt heavier, like the ground was pulling him down, like the room didn't want him to leave. He reached the mirror, pressed his hands against it. Hard. Come on, come on, he shouted. Nothing, no ripple, no movement, just cold glass. Behind it, the real world, his room, untouched, silent, and in it, the other Daniel, standing still, watching. Daniel slammed his fists against the surface. Again, still nothing. Let me out, his voice echoed through the broken room. But no answer came, only silence, and then, a sound. Behind him, Daniel turned slowly. The reflection Daniel was closer now, much closer, and no longer fading. His body was becoming solid again. Stable, complete. Daniel's chest tightened. What's happening? The other Daniel smiled slightly. The process is finishing. Daniel stepped back, fear rising again. You said you were fading. I was. A pause. Now you are. Daniel froze. What? He looked down at his hands. At first, they looked normal. Then, they flickered. Just for a second. Then again. And again. Daniel's breath caught. No. He shook his hands violently, trying to stop it, trying to hold on. But it didn't stop. It spread. Up his arms. Across his body. A faint distortion. Like he was losing connection to something. To reality itself. The reflection Daniel stepped forward. Confident now. Fully formed. No glitches. No flicker. You see it now, he said calmly. Daniel backed away, his legs weak. This isn't happening. It is. The room cracked again. Louder. Deeper. A section of the wall split open. Darkness leaking through. Endless. Empty. Daniel turned toward it, horrified. What is that? The reflection Daniel didn't even look. That's where you go next. Daniel shook his head. No, I'm not staying here. I'm not. His voice cut off. Because his hands, they were disappearing, fading into nothing, like smoke, like he was being erased. Daniel screamed. What are you doing to me? The other Daniel stopped in front of him. Close. Too close. I'm not doing anything, he said quietly. You already did it. Daniel's knees buckled. He collapsed to the floor. His body flickering more rapidly now. His vision tearing, splitting, breaking, and through the distortion, he could still see the mirror. Still see the real world. Still see the life he was losing. The reflection Daniel turned toward the mirror, reaching out, placing his hand against it. This time, the surface rippled, soft, liquid, accepting. Daniel's eyes widened. No, wait, he reached out weakly, trying to grab him, but his hand passed through air. Barely there, barely real. The reflection Daniel stepped into the mirror. Slowly, easily, like he belonged there, and on the other side, he emerged, whole, alive, real. Daniel watched in horror, from inside the broken world, as the other version of him stood in his room, breathing, moving, living, taking everything that had been his. The mirror hardened again, solid, unmoving, closed. Daniel crawled toward it, desperate, broken. Please, please. His voice barely a whisper now. But the other Daniel didn't look back. Daniel's fingers scraped against the surface of the mirror. Cold, unmoving, dead. The same mirror that once pulled him in now refused to let him out. Please, he whispered, his voice weak, fading. I don't belong here. No answer, no movement, nothing. Behind him, the world cracked again. A deep, splitting sound. Daniel turned slowly. The walls were collapsing, breaking apart into darkness. Chunks of reality falling away like broken glass. And beyond it, nothing. No floor, no sky, no end. Just an endless void. Daniel's chest tightened. This place, it's disappearing. A voice answered, soft, cold, familiar. Yes. Daniel turned. The creature stood there again. Not the other Daniel, not the reflection, the original thing, the one from the mirror. Watching him, waiting, its black eyes fixed on him. Unblinking. You stayed too long, it said. Daniel shook his head. No, I didn't choose this. The creature tilted its head. You looked. A pause. That was enough. Daniel's body flickered harder now. More violently. His arms half visible, his legs fading in and out. His heartbeat felt distant, like it wasn't his anymore. Please, he said again. There has to be a way back. The creature stepped closer. Slow, deliberate. There is no back. Daniel collapsed, his strength gone, his body barely holding together. The void behind him spreading. Closer, closer. You saw what was coming, the creature continued. And by seeing it, it leaned closer. You made it real. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. This isn't fair. The creature didn't react, didn't care. Reality doesn't care what's fair. The mirror flickered once, just once, and for a brief moment, Daniel saw through it again. The real world, his room, clean, normal, safe, and standing in it, him, the other version, the replacement, the reflection. Daniel stood calmly, adjusting his shirt, looking around the room, like nothing had happened, like everything belonged to him. He walked past the mirror, stopped, and slowly turned his head, looking directly at Daniel. Through the glass, their eyes met. Daniel reached out, desperate. Please, help me. But the other Daniel only smiled. That same cold, empty smile. Then, he raised his hand, and placed it against the mirror. From the other side, for a second, it almost looked like he might help. Like he might pull him back. But instead, he slowly lowered his hand, turned away, and walked out of the room. Daniel's hand dropped, his last hope gone, his body flickering rapidly now, breaking apart, piece by piece. No, he whispered. The creature stepped closer, standing over him. You are not the first, it said, and you will not be the last. Daniel's vision blurred, the world around him dissolving, the mirror fading, the room collapsing, everything disappearing, and then, silence. The house was quiet again, peaceful, normal, exactly the way Daniel had wanted. The new Daniel moved through it with ease, comfortable, calm, like he had always lived there. Days passed, then weeks. Nothing strange happened. No mirror glitches, no shadows, no whispers. Everything perfect, until one night, at exactly 2:17 a.m., the new Daniel stopped, standing in front of the mirror, staring, still. His reflection didn't move. It blinked, before he did, and that is why some mirrors should never be looked into. Because sometimes, they don't reflect who you are. They decide who replaces you.